Hey, what up squad, it's your boy K-Flow, and this is a tips and tricks video for your next oil change. Now let's get this thing started. Real quick guys, I just want to give a big shout out to Will Hockett. Thank you so much for the very generous beer donation to this channel. And what we're drinking today is a little bit different. This is the Sonic Archaeology whiskey made by Dogfish Head, which is one of my favorite breweries. And it says to serve it over ice, so that's what we got here. So let's crack this thing open. So this one's to you, Will. Cheers, and cheers to all of you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. A little bit fruity, definitely not as much of a alcohol bite to it. This is definitely something you can sip while you're at a fire pit. This is very nice, it's smooth. So now let's get to the topic of lubing tips. No, I mean tips and tricks for your oil changes on your Tacoma. These tips and tricks do apply to your Tacoma, specifically the second gen Tacoma with the 1GR FE V6 engine. And this also applies to all these other vehicles as well. So make sure you stick around throughout the whole video guys, because I am going to be giving my tips and tricks as we do the oil change for this truck. Now let's get to the garage. So first, let's open up this oil fill cap. Opening the inlet valve allows the oil to vent. So when we're draining it, it drains a lot faster. Then we'll use a 14mm socket to open up that drain port. Now make sure it is getting drained into an oil pan. Now there is a crush washer to that plug guys, so just make sure that it's either on the plug itself or it might be on the oil pan. So if it's still there, just take a screwdriver and just pry it out. And that's your crush washer. You will notice that the oil pan is a little bit dented from one of my previous adventures. So I am planning on replacing that in the future. And as always, there will be a video for that replacement. So don't get your panties up in a wad yet, guys. So now let's wipe down that area with the microfiber cloth, guys. And then we'll reinstall the plug with a new crush washer. Now the new crush washer will be linked below. And this 14mm, we torqued down to 30 foot-pounds. Now we do fill the engine with just 1 quart of oil for now. And you'll see why in a bit. So now let's remove that rubber plug at the bottom of this funnel on the housing. And that's what the funnel looks like from underneath, guys. And now we could place that empty bottle underneath to catch all the oil. So therefore, when we undo this oil filter, all dirty oil will just flow down into that bottle. So for those of you guys who are concerned about filling the oil prior to replacing this, these are the fill and drain ports on the filter, and the new oil does not flow into the filter until it's pumped through. And that oil is actually pumped from the bottom because the oil pump is more towards the bottom of the engine. So now let's use an oil filter wrench to remove that oil filter. Now that it's loosened enough, we'll undo it by hand. So as you can see, all that old oil is now just running right into the bottle. Now let's just take our microfiber rag and then just clean around where the seal is supposed to sit on that housing. Now I would definitely suggest to just buy OEM oil filters, because this set of 5 I got for about $25, which equates to about $5 oil filter. So now let's dip our finger into the old oil and apply some right on the O-ring of this new oil filter. And now we can install the new oil filter. And we'll just tighten it down as hard as we can by hand. And now we could remove that bottle and reinstall the plug on the bottom of that funnel. So now let's top off the engine oil. And in my case, it's 5.5 quarts. And I just want to point out, guys, I do have a membership to BJ's, and I'm talking about the wholesale store. And usually these big box wholesale stores have the 5W30s on sale, and I do grab one when I need it so that I at least save some money, because the box of 6 quarts on sale is about $25. So when we're combining the 6 quarts and from getting the wholesale oil filter, we're making those oil changes for only about $30. It's also good to check your dipstick after about 30 minutes. Now the dipstick on the Tacoma does suck pretty bad, guys. And hopefully you can see this in the camera. But what I did was I actually took a knife and hatched in between the areas where the 2 markers are for this dipstick in order to have the oil adhere there better. And here it is with the oil cleaned off. So those are the cross hatches that I made using a knife, and I did it for both sides. Alright guys, so now let's reset the maintenance light. First, let's put it in the on position. Then we turn it back to the off position. And then we cycle through until we hit the ODO, as you see here. And then we hold this button down and then put it back in the on position. And as you can see, zeros flash, and that resets the maintenance light. So when you're thinking about oil changes, also think about greasing joints. So that includes your universal joints in your front and rear drive shafts, your ball joints, which is your upper control arm, lower control arm, and tie rods, and your elbow joint. Huh? Elbow? Okay. And I'm totally kidding about the last one. Dang it! Too late now! And yes, I know it is a bad joke. And my last tip is to change your oil every 5,000 miles. Changing them at 5,000 mile intervals actually makes it easier to remember. So every time your truck hits the 5,000 mile marker, so that's 105, 110, 115, you at least remember when to do that oil change. In my case, I know I'm 900 miles over my last designated oil change, but it's all good. At least I remember when to change the oil. So that's pretty much it for this video, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. Make sure you smash that like, subscribe, and hit that bell too while you're at it. And until next time, peace out, y'all.